All right, and last up is Freshwater Fly.
Designed by Brian Suhre, artist is Darryl T. Jones, and published by Bellwether Games.
So Freshwater Fly is pretty much one of the only fishing games in existence, apparently, right?
Cold Water Crown.
I was going to say that same
It's one of
company
like
had
two.
one right before it.
Top five fishing games now.
Fishing Frenzy.
So I'm going to give a brief overview, and if George wants to add something at the end, we can, just to keep the rules short. I'm going to do it. All right, so in freshwater, I keep wanting to say Freshwater Fly.
I was going to name some more fishing games. Sorry.
Oh.
Cat and fish.
Can you do a whole top five?
If wishes were fishes. I don't know if you really fish in that one, but
hey,
Fleet.
that's my fish.
Fleet is another.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, in the middle of the board, you're going to have this 4x3 tableau of fish that represents the river that you're going to be fishing in. In front of each player, you have this player board that has a Mancala style reel. But first, you have to get a token to put on this reel to spin it.
Mare Balticum.
That thing. No, we learn something every day.
What is that?
No. I'm sorry. That was another fishing game. Sorry.
Oh,
I
thought that was a fancy word for the reel.
I did too.
that's what I thought.
I got disappointed now. Anyway, so what you're going to do is it's a dice drafting game. So you will take dice number of players times 2 plus 1. So in a 4-player game, you're going to have 9 dice. The first player is going to roll those, align them in order, and then you're going to take turns drafting them. But the first thing you need to do is get a fish on your hook. So you're going to draft a die. This die will kind of tell you which column of this in this river that you can pick a fish from. The fish are all face down cards, but they are color coded for easy, medium, hard. Although each one does have a range of victory points, so easy might be from a certain amount to another, higher amount. I don't remember the actual denominations, but basically you don't know exactly how many points it's worth, just like you don't know how large of a fish you get when you're fishing,
but you know
how much it weighs.
Type of fish it is.
You know what type of fish it is, so if you want to go for a cutthroat, which is the best one in the game, just because of its name, you can, or whatever the other fish are called.
Steelheads are great.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So once you attempt to try to fish for a fish, there is some stipulations, right? So you need a lure of the same color as, I believe they're called hatchlings, which are the little insects on the bottom row, represented by by wooden discs of different colors.
Yeah, the insects are hatching out. That's why they're the hatchlings, and that's what the fish are going for. That's what they're biting. So you make the fly look like those, so you catch them. Yeah.
So you gotta match that up. So you want to throw a blue lure into the column that has at least a blue token. And on your first attempt, you get one player's going to shuffle up 4 cards, and you get to draw a card out of their hand. And if you draw the one that shows you catching the fish, you get the fish and it goes on your hook. Otherwise, you fail. Then you get 2 more chances depending on if the columns before it. So if you cast into column 5, then you get to move you could drift it back to column 4, then to column 3, provided that those columns have the same matching hatchling as your lure. Anyway, the point is you're pulling it back towards you, and you might have second and the third chance. If you do get a second chance, you get a 50% chance because you get to draw 2 of the cards out of the player's hand to see if you get it. If you do get to go a third time, you absolutely get it. It's 100%. You get all 4 cards. And once you get a fish, it goes above your player board to the right. And the idea is it needs to move to the left. But to do so, you have to move the reel for your fishing rod 1 full rotation to move the fish down on those spaces. So depending on how hard this fish is, it is above your player board farther and farther. So like the yellow one, which I believe is the hardest.
Yes.
It will be on the far right, and you have to do 3 full rotations to catch that fish. Whereas the green, or gray, I believe, or one of the colors.
Yeah, gray you need 2, and then green you need a single rotation.
Yeah. And then as you're rotating, okay, so once you get a fish, you can draft a die, and then that's how many spaces you get to rotate your reel. This is the Mancala, I guess, mechanism to it.
Yeah, and the hatchling that you caught the fish with becomes the handle for your reel.
Yeah,
in a sense.
It's actually it allows you to rotate it.
Thematic, maybe not, but yeah.
It works out.
It
works out. So as you're rotating around, so if you draft a 5, you get to move it 5 spaces around. 5 spaces is a full rotation. However, the fish, depending on how heavy it is or how strength it is, it does have a strength value that you minus. So a 5 minus the strength value of 2, you only get to rotate 3 spaces.
Yeah.
each of these spaces do have special powers to them. Got to look at the board to remember them all. But basically, one of the spaces will allow you to put a what's the thing called that where
The
you
drag?
the drag. Yeah,
I think it's called drag.
Yeah.
it allows you to cover up the strength of the fish. That way, you don't have to worry about it anymore. There's another space that'll allow you to draw one of the special power tokens that are kind of at the top of the board.
Motivation tiles.
Those things. Those kind of give you a one-time use ability, and then you flip it over and put it back on the board, and it's a new ability, and that just keeps getting flipped up and down. There's another space. One of the last spaces on the reel will allow you, depending on if it's a hard or easy fish, it'll push the reel back or forward to make it easier. I don't remember what's the other two.
To add finesse.
Oh yeah. So you have a finesse token. You will get finesse points from this if you land on that space, or you can also when you draft a die, you can burn it to gain 2 finesse.
Yes.
And the finesse track, you can go up to 4 spaces. And basically what it allows you to do is do abilities that mitigate different things. And depending on how far your finesse is, the cooler ability you can do, but you can always do the ones previous as well.
They all cost 1 to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so once you do reel a fish in and catch it, it goes in your tableau. And the whole point is whoever gets 7 fish will cause the game to be triggered the end game. And then you play to the end of the round, and then you're going to count up points. So not only are you going to get points from your fish, you're also going to get points from your player board that has these in-game scoring mechanism or things at the bottom, like maybe get a pair of these fish like steelhead and cutthroat or whatever, and you get bonus points, or catch these specific types of hatchlings, which is the whole reason you're getting them put on your reel, because you get to keep those as well. So maybe like get four different colors and it's worth so many points or whatever.
Yep.
On top of that, one thing I will mention real quick before we just start talking, there are rock spaces on the river. And if you catch a fish next to the rock, you get to pick up the rock card, and they give you special abilities or possibly in-game scoring. Yep. We could talk about our favorite ones on there, but basically it's the standard affair of special abilities. Like maybe you can take a die, but you can use it as a 3 instead. Stuff like that.
There's skill cards that you can get, what you said, but it's because you're catching next to the rocks, which is where the deeper pools are, so you're more of a skillful fisherman.
Yeah.
So you get a bonus.
Yeah. So at the end, whoever has the most points basically is the winner. Matt, have you checked out this one?
Yeah.
What'd you think of it initially?
I watched part of it. I don't know if it was just I just lost interest in it a little bit.
You don't like fishing?
I haven't fished, but I bet it's been over 20 years since I've fished. The only thing that was kind of weird to me was and maybe you learn them over time, but I just see me like with the reel. So you're reeling and you stop on a spot, I'm always gonna have to like move it just so I can see what in the world I'm supposed to do. So it was, I mean, maybe you do learn it after a while. You remember what is where.
There's only 5 of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if they're easy enough actions, you'll kind of memorize.
Yeah, they're
them.
all really easy.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, yeah, it's fairly interesting on what's going on. You get bugs. And
to add in on what you just said, though, you're kind of planning what you're going for, so you know I want this
what you're going to
space,
land on.
so you're going to draft
gotcha.
a 4 to get there. Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah. That's fair. That was just something I noticed. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty. It's got some pretty fish in it. So.
I think it has gorgeous. Is this the Kickstarter version that you had?
Yes, I have the Kickstarter components.
All right, so
Deluxe, yeah.
A little bit of component upgrade, but overall, I really like the components. I mean, everything in this game is really well done. I will, however, say that the 4 cards that you're pulling out of somebody's hand to try to catch the fish.
Oh, I thought that was generic.
Dude, it needs to be a bag and some things in there, so you're actually fishing for something and pulling out like a token.
I do agree with that. Yeah.
That would be
nice.
Oh my, that would be
Upgrade.
amazing. Yeah, I actually, if I ever get this game, I'm gonna do it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine that? I mean, like it kind of gives you, even if you put in a generic little fishing pole that had a magnet on it, and the 4 pieces in there are magnetized.
Yeah,
then you actually have to fish.
That would add to the game length. But
How would you make it so you only
Thematic?
caught one?
I don't know. I'm just saying, it would be awesome.
whatever comes up first.
It's cooler than drawing a card from somebody's hand. Especially
Sure.
if somebody doesn't sleeve the cards. Those things are going to get so just... after
Oh
a
my
while.
gosh, that's such a good idea. Okay. Instead of having a bag, right, you have tokens that are magnets, and then the result is on the bottom, but they're magnets themselves. And then you have a magnet attached to a string, and you have to like throw it
Get one of
and
them.
try to hit the one that you're going for.
Because
but
of
they're
dexterity
mixed
game
up
at this
anyway.
point.
Oh, it'd be so good.
Point is, there's so many other things they could have did
Besides,
or done
yeah.
other than those 4 cards. I thought
Sure.
that was really
Upgrade.
generic.
Bling.
Overall, though, I think it was pretty fun. The only thing I didn't really like is the fact that even though it's thematic, super thematic, I don't like the fact that you don't know what you're getting when you go after it. You know, so I go after your yellow, but it's like a weak yellow. And so my point is, like, if I get 7 fish and you get 7 fish and you just happen to get better fish,
Right. Yeah.
it's already an advantage.
Could be kind of random.
Yeah.
It is thematic. You're right, because
It's
when
really
But,
thematic.
yeah.
you don't know what's going to grab your line.
Yeah, because
when
then you
you're
reel it
fishing.
in. It's like, bam, that's a fat
fish,
fish, you
yeah.
know, or you kind of, it's like small. It reminds me of playing Monster Hunter because it plays this when you fish in that game and you pull up a little tiny fish, it plays like really cheesy music, like you hate your life. So
Yeah.
you
And
you
that-
get one. It's like, what? It's only 5 points.
That happens in this game too. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. So it's thematic, but the fact, I think the only reason it's a problem for me is because there's a first player to get so many fish.
Mm-hmm.
Like games like that, and we talked about this before, games like that where it's like try to get the first player to get 7 causes the end game. You can't, like, you can go for like smaller fish in other games because you know what you're going for. Like I might go for like artifacts or whatever. They're only 3 points a piece because I can buy them really quickly. As long as I'm in the lead, I can end the game fast. But in this game, it's like you have no control over that. So I don't know.
Well, you can go after green fish and
Yeah.
end the game real fast.
I mean, you
That's true.
can try to, but not always will you get the green fish.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But my point is, if you end the game with the same 7 fish as somebody else, like 2 of each color or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, that's 6 fish, but like 2 of each color, maybe 3 of the green instead.
Well,
Point is, you have the same layout of difficulty fish.
somewhat
You
I would
just get
agree
more
on
points.
that. But what's going to really offset that is how well you played your own player board.
Right.
You know, that yellow fish, I don't think there was a big variance, and you know, it might be 7 points and 9 points or 8 points or something, but there wasn't if I remember right, there wasn't a big variance between those certain colors. But what you're going to get is you're going to get additional points for the hatchling colors
Yeah.
that you gather. You're going to get additional points for sets and whatnot, or getting a specific type of fish. So I think that's going to be more of a variance in the game than we both got the same number of fishes or color fishes.
That's fair.
Mhm.
What did you think about the drag token? Because I feel like it trivializes the game a little bit too much.
Well, I see where they put it in the first spot kind of on purpose, I think, because it's going to cost you a little bit of time, which a lot of times is going to be worth it for a bigger fish.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's so worth it.
but it
to
is
do.
worth it.
Yeah.
I
But-
think you lose the game if you don't get it all. If you don't
if you don't
utilize it
drag
enough.
a big fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree with you. It does trivialize it. I think that it's so easy to just say, well, I'm just going to put a drag. I'm just going to tire this fish out, and now I just reel him in.
Yeah.
And that's so easy.
But there's
Because-
sometimes you're not able to do so.
There was never an instance where I felt like I was not able to. Because think about it this
Depending
way.
on the dice are out, because
Not-
you have to hit the first rank on your reel.
you
do so.
rotate it in a circle, it's going to go past it. But-
But the further you row it in, the less needed that you need to put drag on it.
I don't know. What do you feel like? I don't feel like I ever was in a position where I was like, oh, I can't do it. Because even you could spin your finesse just to do it.
Yes.
If your finesse was high enough, yes.
It was like 2.
No,
No.
it was like 3
Was
or
it 4?
It was 4, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, you
Yeah.
get 2 for just burning a die. And then if you
Wow.
land on the finesse space enough. My point is, though, my point is, check it. If you grab a yellow fish
Mhm.
and yours is worth 9 points and mine's worth like 6
The
points.
highest is 8, and there's only one worth 8. Let's
Sure.
call it 7.
Well, no, I'm saying like if
Say
one
8.
person has the highest yellow fish and the other person has the lowest yellow fish,
Okay, so 8 and 5.
if they both on the first die draft eliminate the drag, then now the person
Now it's even.
it's dumb because I'm pulling in the same fish where it's worth less points because it's so easy to trivialize it. The offsetting thing would be the strength of the fish because you're getting more points for it, and I would get that, but now you've just made that not a factor, and I think that it happened way too much.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you on that, actually. I think that I'm not real happy with how that works, and I'm playing around with house rules to deal with that, and I haven't really decided yet
or add drag, which might -1 on the fish's pull or whatever.
Right. Every time you do a drag, it's
Instead of
-1.
removing it all the way.
Yeah, I like that a whole lot better.
Oh, -1 of the thing, or just
Right.
have it to where after like three uses or something, it goes away or whatever. But the point is, yeah, you could do something to where it won't have as
Yeah.
much of an impact.
I like that idea, Eric. Actually, probably better than my idea. My idea was to make it even more thematic for fishing. If you add drag, like if you're fighting the fish,
Yes.
that you have a chance to break your line,
Mm-hmm.
which will lead to more randomness.
It would be thematic but disappointing.
Yeah.
Snap.
But it's your own fault. You added the drag.
I mean, that's true. Yeah.
So
Like
I
just
don't
going
know.
at
I
a
don't know.
standard pace, fighting the fish, and then not pulling against it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another little nitpick too. I want to fish on this river because it's full of fish. Wherever you put your put your line, you're gonna get something.
Yeah,
So-
this is a whole day's worth of fishing condensed into
Condensed-
1 hour.
yeah.
And it's your
Yeah.
best fishing day of your life,
Right.
condensed into a 1 hour game.
But even with that said, that drag token, I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
I
And
really did like it.
How we were talking about rec raiders, it does give you instances where you can be a little clever and go for like, okay, I'm gonna get this that token. I forgot what's motivation
Yes.
token.
Yes.
Get a motivation token.
Those are
Yeah.
huge.
It's gonna move my reel this far. And
Some
it's
of
gonna do
those way
something
better
else.
than others.
You can do so
Right.
many clever things with those, though.
Right.
Yes, there is a very. I mean, you can literally think 3 turns ahead in this game.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even though it's a dice drafting game, you're like, okay, well, if this one gets taken, I can do this and mitigate it or whatever.
Yeah.
I do think that some of those rock cards were kind of blah, and some were like, oh, that's pretty good. I didn't think any of them were amazing, but
Right. No, it's again, it's a draw. You know, you might get a
Mhm.
good one, you might get one that doesn't help you.
yeah.
This, I agree with you. This one has the same repetition that Rec Raiders, for example, has. But in this one, you have all those clever mitigations that you
It was
can do.
more enjoyable repetition.
It's more enjoyable, and it's repetition in the sense that fishing is repetition, because fishing is definitely repetition.
Oh,
yeah.
But-
Cast, reel, cast, reel,
Yeah.
disappointment, cast, reel.
But I have the exact opposite reaction to this game and Rec Raiders that Tom Vassell did, for example. In his review, he's saying this game is repetitive, and then he kind of just dismisses it as repetitive, didn't like it. And in Rec Raiders, which I feel is much more repetitive, he really likes that one. So I take my take on both of these games is entirely the opposite.
Opposite. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't watch any reviews for this game specifically, but
Yeah. And so I can see how it could be repetitive, you know, to the point that, you know, if you don't enjoy Mankalas, if you don't enjoy
how long was this one, Eric?
Oh, we're gonna
Did
look.
you time it? We
I
time
probably
our
did.
games around here. We got the
I know.
BG Stats app, and we just hit play when we start after we do the rules and stuff, so we get a pretty good idea of how long our games last.
It was 2 hours and 8 minutes at 4 players.
Huh, that's interesting. I didn't think it was that long.
No, it didn't feel long.
Yeah.
Went by pretty fast.
That's like 30 minutes a player. I mean, that's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of. Maybe I'm wrong in not thinking about. There's like not really any interaction between each other. Kinda. I guess the only interaction is.
I'm gonna take this
Take the
blue,
fish you want.
yeah,
Well, no, I mean,
or the fish that you want.
moving the hatchlings around using your finesse.
Oh, that's true. Too.
That can really mess other players up. So you
Yes.
can really mess somebody up, because if they got a lure that's blue and there's 3 blues in a row for like column 2, 3, and 4, and you move that middle one,
Yeah.
you're like, you gotta be kidding me.
And then you take that blue.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
so much of the game is that lure and having the right lure at the right time and being able to change it out, because it's not easy to change your lures.
yeah, it
Mhm.
takes like your whole turn basically.
Yeah, and sometimes you can't do it.
Correct.
And so I think that is the game, and that's thematic too, because you have to be constantly aware of what fly to use to
Mm.
match what bugs are around and what fish are going to eat those bugs, and
Yeah.
it's the lure. That's the thing. It's so thematic.
Yeah, it is pretty thematic. I mean, this game is dripping with theme for sure.
I shouldn't call it a lure. It's a fly. Whatever.
Whatever. I mean, we're not like fishing experts or
No, we're
anything.
not.
So, anyway, final thoughts? Anything else you want to add?
No, I ended up liking it quite a bit. So, like George said, it did get a little bit repetitive because you do get these more ability cards that might change what you can do on your turn a little bit, but you're basically doing the same thing for all 7 fish.
Yeah.
It's not changing that much.
Yeah, but it has a nice flow to it. You cast and you catch a fish and you reel it in, and then
You
you change your
cast?
lure, and then
Yeah.
you cast. I mean, that's what fishing is.
Oh yeah.
It's the best fishing game I've played. The only one. I will say I like it. For me, usually if a game has a Kickstarter version and it's so well done, I get really disappointed about trying to buy the retail version, but I feel like they did a good job of upgrading specific components for the Kickstarter
Mhm.
that aren't that big of a deal if you own the standard edition.
The art's gorgeous.
Well, I'm saying like the lures in your copy, because it's Kickstarter, are wooden
Yeah, that's nice.
and silk screen printed or whatever, but they're like just normal cut out cardboard chits otherwise, right?
Yeah, it's cardboard with art on it, but the art's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is, like, it's not like a CMON game where you want to go buy a game because you played the Kickstarter version and then you go look at the standard edition and it's like, really terrible, because it's so just meh. And then the Kickstarter is like a shining beacon of awesome. So they upgraded the right amount of components in this one to where it's like cool for people who really wanted it and kickstarted it, but it's not that big of a deal for if you want to just go buy the base game.
Yeah.
Is what I was getting to.
Cool. Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. I might pick this one up specifically so I can upgrade to a bag drawing mechanism for the fish. So,
Or a magnet on a string.
it's something like, I might get a little ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, that is Freshwater Fly.